Another key component of optimal health is in our gut with healthy bacteria. The bacteria in our gut outnumber the human cells in our bodies 10 to 1. These bacteria offer crucial aid in digestion, germ protection, and mood regulation. Many aspects of modern living can be harmful to the beneficial bacteria in our gut. Your body and brain function will suffer if your beneficial bacteria are not optimal. Eating fermented foods is a delicious way to nurture your friendly bacteria. When the probiotic population in your gut is thriving, these tiny microbes perform multiple functions that help keep you healthy and happy. Your body is literally teeming with bacteria. Our goal is to feed the good ones and starve the bad ones. These tiny organisms that make up your gut flora, or the microbiome, exert a truly profound influence on your health. 90% of the genetic material in your body is not exactly yours. It's from the bacteria that are primarily living in your gut. You have about 100 trillion bacteria living in your gut, and only 10 trillion cells in your body. So collectively, they outnumber you 10 to 1. These bacteria provide a large number of incredibly important benefits, such as optimizing your immune system and helping you resist infections, helping you digest food and absorb nutrients, detoxifying heavy metals and chemicals you've been exposed to, providing certain vitamins such as B vitamins and K2, balancing your nervous system by serving as a source of neurotransmitters, somewhat similar to the brain, and many other jobs that we have yet to discover. These beneficial bacteria also train your immune system to distinguish between pathogens, disease-causing microbes, and non-harmful microbes. They prevent your immune system from overreacting, which is the genesis of allergies. Furthermore, your intestinal health can have a profound influence on your mental health. Your gut is quite literally your second brain, as it originates from the same type of tissue as your brain. The gastrointestinal tract is now considered one of the most complex microbial ecosystems on Earth. You may have a basic awareness that the microbes in your gut affect your digestion, but their influence extends far beyond that to your brain, heart, skin, mood, weight. The list goes on and on. In many ways, your health is foundationally rooted in your gut bacteria, both in terms of maintaining emotional and physical wellness, and in terms of preventing chronic disease. When gut microbes are abundant, they work tirelessly on processes that support your body's natural ability to heal itself. Letting them do much of the heavy lifting for you makes healing and high quality of life effortless. Beneficial bacteria are so crucial to health that researchers have compared them to a newly recognized organ, and have even suggested we consider ourselves a type of meta-organism with multiple environments within our body, such as our mouth, our gut, and our skin, each of which hosts its own unique population of microbiota. If you think about your gut at all, you might think of it as a simple mechanism whose job is to digest food, but this is actually just one small role it plays. Rather than merely responding to input like food, your gut actually initiates a staggering number of actions in your body. In a very real sense, you have two brains, one inside your skull and one in your gut. So nourishing your gut flora is extremely important from cradle to grave. We actually have two nervous systems: central nervous system composed of your brain and spinal cord, and enteric nervous system, the intrinsic nervous system of your gastrointestinal tract. Interestingly, these two organs are created out of the same type of tissue, as we have said. During fetal development, one part turns into your central nervous system while the other develops into your enteric nervous system. These two systems are connected via the vagus nerve, the 10th cranial nerve that runs from your brainstem down to your abdomen. You might believe that your brain directs how your body functions, but your gut actually sends far more information to your brain than your brain sends to your gut. The vagus nerve is the mechanism your gut flora use to send messages to your brain. Your brain sends instructions to your gut, but it's a two-way street. Your gut also sends instructions to your brain. And while science hasn't determined exactly how the communication is initiated, research suggests that the microbes in your gut play an important role. For example, a 2013 study by researchers at UCLA found that women who consumed a healthy yogurt twice a day had significantly different brain function and connections between regions of the brain than women who either ate a version of yogurt that contained no probiotics or ate no yogurt at all. The findings suggest that the number and type of probiotics you have in your gut affect the way your brain works and is organized. The best kinds of kefir or yogurt are going to be raw, which means unpasteurized. These have been hard to find, but can be made at home easily if you can get raw milk. At this point, most other studies of the link between microbiome and brain function have been conducted on animals, but the results are fascinating. Specific strains of probiotics have been found to reduce stress hormones and behaviors associated with anxiety and depression, and to reduce symptoms of anxiety in mice with colitis. To put it in more concrete terms, you've probably experienced the visceral sensation of what we call butterflies in your stomach when you're feeling nervous. Or you've had an upset stomach when you're angry or stressed. But the flip side is also true. Problems in your gut can directly impact your mental health and emotional well-being, paving the way for anxiety and depression and various other mental and emotional troubles, simply by not making wise choices when it comes to our gut microbiome. While we don't yet know exactly how this link between gut and health and mental health functions, researchers at Texas Tech University have found that different strains of probiotics produce different neurochemicals, such as GABA, G-A-B-A, which reduce stress and anxiety, serotonin, which reduces aggressive behavior and promotes sleep, and dopamine, which plays a role in focus, pleasure, and motivation. It is likely that these chemicals traveling between your gut and your brain via your vagus nerve influence mental health. Optimizing your gut flora is far superior to regularly receiving vaccines, flu shots, antibiotics, etc. In addition to acting as a second brain, your gut also houses 80% of your immune system. Your skin and your lymph nodes are the other major players in immunity. It is your body's primary tool for fighting infections. As we briefly mentioned earlier, your gut flora work to keep your immune system strong in a few ways. They keep potentially harmful invaders at bay, primarily by taking up space in your digestive tract, protecting against overgrowth of microorganisms that could cause disease. Your microbiome also teaches your immune system which items to attack and which to tolerate. They help neutralize pathogenic disease-causing bacteria that you may be exposed to through food or other environmental contributors. They help manage allergies. Infants who have a less diverse population of microbiotics have an increased risk of developing allergies when they grow older. They fuel another piece of your immune system, the thymus gland, which provides cell-mediated immunity through the release of T cells. They're also excellent detoxifiers, helping your body process and expel toxins that could otherwise build up and compromise your health. Even with all these immune and other benefits, your gut flora's power to aid in digestion shouldn't be overlooked. If your internal environment isn't well stocked with the beneficial bacteria needed to break down your food properly, your body won't be able to assimilate all those important nutrients you're consuming. How can you tell whether your health is suffering from a lack of healthy gut bacteria? The following symptoms are all possible signs that unhealthy bacteria have taken over too much real estate in your gut. The more symptoms you have, the more likely that you have a less than ideal gut flora population. Lack of mental clarity, gas and bloating, constipation or diarrhea, fatigue, nausea, headaches, sugar and carb cravings, skin conditions, depression or low mood, frequent infections, insomnia, emotional instability. Please take these warnings seriously, since a healthy gut is one of your best defenses against all kinds of disease. Indeed, Hippocrates, known as the father of medicine, said that all disease begins in the gut, and that was many centuries ago. Imbalances in gut flora have been quite common, considering how vulnerable gut bacteria are to environmental assaults, and how ignorant many medical schools and physicians have been to this information, especially since the dawn of the pharmaceutical industrial complex began lobbying for extra permissions and protections from politicians, as we shared in an earlier video in this series. Lifestyle can and does influence your inner environment on a daily basis. Your good gut bacteria are extremely sensitive to antibiotics, chlorinated water, antibacterial soap and hand sanitizers, agricultural chemicals, and pollution, just to name a few. We'll go a little bit further in depth into each one of these. First, antibiotics. The word literally means against life. Yes, antibiotics kill bad bacteria that can make you ill, but they also imbalance the population of friendly bacteria in your gut, leaving you more vulnerable to subsequent illness. Prescription antibiotics are like bombs. They kill both good and bad bacteria indiscriminately. 80% of the antibiotics distributed in the United States are fed to farm animals. So if the meat you're eating isn't organic, you can safely assume you are getting a dose of antibiotics with each bite of conventional meat. And animal byproducts such as dairy, if it's not organic, and also being potentially exposed to antibiotic-resistant bacteria. Chlorinated water. If you're drinking unfiltered chlorinated tap water, remember that chlorine kills not only waterborne pathogens, but also your beneficial bacteria. Antibacterial soap and hand sanitizers are also a bad idea. A large population of friendly bacteria lives on your skin, which is one of the main reasons skin-to-skin contact is recommended for newborns and premature babies. It doesn't just feel good and build a connection of love and emotions, but hugging this way also transmits these tiny probiotic helpers to your offspring. These good bacteria ward off dangerous invaders that may find their way into your system through cuts in your skin or the air you breathe, food that you eat. Antibacterial soap and hand sanitizers target these friendly microbes as well as the unfriendly ones. In addition, most antibacterial cleansing agents contain dangerous ingredients like triclosan, which may also alter your hormones or interfere with your muscles. Triclosan has been linked to heart disease and heart failure. Even the FDA has become wary of triclosan. At the end of 2013, it proposed a rule that would require manufacturers of products that contain it to prove that those products provide more benefit than simply washing with soap and water. Interestingly, washing with soap and water is still the preferred and recommended manner of cleansing hands for health professionals and surgeons. When you are bathing, we recommend that you use a natural, plain soap, preferably with the least amount of chemicals and words you can't pronounce. And only in the critical areas of your body, as opposed to lathering your entire body every time you wash. All soap, even the natural ones, removes most of the natural oil in the sebum of your skin. Sebum produced by your sebaceous glands not only helps prevent your hair and skin from drying out, but also provides an important barrier of protection against infections. The natural oils on our skin take hours to be replaced, and they play a key role in turning direct sunlight into vitamin D for absorption, as we learned in an earlier video in the series. Agricultural chemicals, pesticides and herbicides designed to kill weeds and bugs, have been falsely heralded by their profit prioritizing manufacturers to be innocuous, harmless to humans. But even if that is the case, they are not innocuous or harmful to our microflora, beneficial gut bacteria. When you eat foods contaminated with herbicides, in particular glyphosate, as an active ingredient in the ubiquitous pesticide Roundup, they can enter your cells and target your beneficial bacteria, resulting in all kinds of health symptoms, as we just listed. And pollution, contaminants in the air or water have recently been linked to gastrointestinal disorders. One study revealed that short-term exposure to air pollution may trigger abdominal pain in young adults, as well as even more serious diseases like inflammatory bowel disease. However, the most important factor in healthy gut flora is our diet. Poor diet, particularly one that is loaded with ultra-processed foods and sugar, is the #1 enemy of healthy gut bacteria. Cleaning up your diet is essential to good health. We give plenty more details on how to do it in other videos in this series. But with regard to your microbiome, here are the tolls associated with the processed foods that so many consume. Sugar. Processed foods are typically loaded with sugar. Sugar comprises your compromises your beneficial gut bacteria by providing the preferred fuel for pathogenic bad bacteria. They love to feed on sugar. Sugar is also cancer's primary food source. It also contributes to chronic inflammation throughout your body, including your brain. Refined grains. Processed foods are also often loaded with grains, which your body rapidly converts into sugar. Alcohol is also rapidly converted to sugar in the body. GMOs, genetically modified organisms or genetically engineered ingredients, GE. The majority of processed foods contain genetically engineered ingredients, primarily corn, soy, and canola, which are particularly detrimental to beneficial bacteria. Eating genetically engineered corn may turn your gut flora into a sort of living pesticide factory, essentially manufacturing toxins from within your digestive system on a continuing basis. Moreover, beneficial gut bacteria are very sensitive to residual glyphosate, the active ingredient in Roundup. Glyphosate alters and destroys beneficial gut flora in animals, as evidenced by the increasing instances of lethal botulism in cattle. Eating a healthy diet helps the beneficial gut bacteria flourish, which results in the real magic of restoring your health. And once you teach yourself how to eat this way, the incredible vitality you will feel will make choosing healthy foods a desirable task. Consider the case of Arno, a 69-year-old man eating a typical diet heavy in processed foods and grains. When he took a course of antibiotics after having an infected tooth extracted, the antibiotics wiped out his already imperiled beneficial bacteria population, and he developed extreme diarrhea, hourly episodes with blood in the stool. The MDs he consulted, 4 in total, said his condition was life-threatening, and all suggested that he take another round of antibiotics. Instead, Arno chose to flood his system with probiotics. He consumed fermented foods such as natto, kefir, yogurt, tempeh, and sauerkraut every day. In 3 days, the diarrhea was gone. Since then, he has continued to eat probiotic foods daily and has improved the quality of his food with many more raw vegetables and leafy greens. He is happy to report that not only has his digestion been greatly enhanced, but he hasn't had a cold in the 5 years since. The benefits of restoring your gut flora balance. Tending to your microflora, consistently reseeding your gut with healthy bacteria, pays dividends in multiple areas of health, many of which may surprise you. It may be crucial to the prevention of virtually all disease, from coughs, colds, and flus, to autoimmune disorders, to psychiatric disturbances, and even to cancer. If you have any of the following conditions, you need to promote the growth of beneficial bacteria in your gut. Behavioral issues. Recent animal research has found a link between gut bacteria and behavior. Mice with a poor bacterial population were found to be more likely to engage in high-risk behavior than mice with healthy gut flora. This altered behavior was accompanied by neurochemical changes in the animal's brains. Researchers believe that the expression of certain genes that affect behavior is connected to bacteria in the gut. Most of the microbes that comprise an infant's gut flora are acquired during birth. However, babies born via cesarean section don't acquire their mother's vaginal and intestinal microbes at birth. Their gut flora is established primarily through contact with their parent's skin and is much less robust than that of babies born vaginally. This explains why babies born by C-section have higher rates of asthma, allergy, and autoimmune disorders. If you are currently pregnant or become pregnant, it's even more important for you to prioritize tending to your microbiome, as it may be one of the most important steps you can take for your child. As a quick side note, omega-3 fatty acids are also incredibly important for pregnant women to be taking, as it contributes to the healthy brain development of the child. And a lack of healthy omega-3 in a pregnant mother can lead to postpartum depression, as their own brain can be drained of omega-3s in the body's process of producing and growing the child's brain. So really important to get extra omega-3s and lower your intake of omega-6s when pregnant. The rate of autism has risen dramatically since our parents' and grandparents' generation. From 1 child in 10,000 to now less than 1 child in 50. There is compelling evidence that the rapid rise in autism is at least partially related to gut flora. If an infant's gut flora is less than optimal, instead of being a source of nourishment, it becomes a major source of toxicity. Pathogenic organisms left unchecked by the absence of friendly microbes damage the integrity of the gut wall. This allows all sorts of toxins and microbes to flow into the bloodstream of the infant and penetrate its brain, which appears to lead to autism or autism-like symptoms. Part of the effect of leaky gut. Researchers, particularly Dr. Natasha Campbell-McBride, a neurologist, the mother of an autistic child, and the author of Gut and Psychology Syndrome, are seeing an increased risk of children with abnormal gut flora developing such disorders as ADHD, learning disabilities, and autism, particularly if they are vaccinated before restoring balance to their gut flora. If you are insistent upon ignoring the increasing evidence of the dangers of vaccines, you could at least wait until your child is 2 years old before receiving injections, and that would give them a head start in developing their immune system. We beg that you consider these matters seriously. Even well-meaning doctors and graduates of America's medical schools are still struggling with ignorance in many of these areas. And though they have good intentions for their patients, in many cases, may not have all of the critical information, so doing our own research is of vital importance. Immunity. Establishment of normal gut flora in the first 20 days or so of life plays a crucial role in appropriate maturation of a baby's immune system. Babies who develop abnormal gut flora, by contrast, are left with compromised immune systems. Obesity. The makeup of gut bacteria tends to differ in lean and obese people. In people who are obese or gain weight easily, studies show gut flora is significantly less diverse than in those of normal, healthy weight. Research also suggests that people are more likely to gain weight when their gut bacteria break down food inefficiently, enabling their bodies to absorb more calories, less nutrients. One reason fermented foods are so beneficial to weight loss is that they contain lactic acid bacteria, beneficial gut bacteria that can help you stay slim. This may be one reason breastfed babies have a lower risk of obesity, as bifidobacteria flourish in the gut of breastfed babies. Obese people who drank a probiotic-rich fermented milk beverage for 12 weeks were able to reduce their abdominal fat by nearly 5% and their subcutaneous fat by over 3%. In that study, the control group experienced no significant fat reductions at all, which earns one more gold star for probiotics. When pregnant women take probiotics from the first trimester through breastfeeding, they appear to lose weight more easily after childbirth. Much more research shows that lean people tend to have higher amounts of various healthy bacteria than do obese people. The bottom line, if you are seeking to lose weight, restoring balance to your gut flora is a crucial piece of the puzzle. Multiple sclerosis is a chronic degenerative disease of the nerves in the brain and spinal column caused through an immune-mediated demyelination process. Myelin is the insulating waxy substance around the nerves in the central nervous system. When the myelin is damaged by an autoimmune disease or similarly destructive process in the body, the function of those nerves deteriorates over time. It may seem strange that microbes in the digestive tract could influence a disease of the brain and spinal column, but current research clearly shows that gut bacteria do play a role in triggering autoimmune demyelination. They also influence the immune system's inflammatory response. And although the research is still new and ongoing into the possibility, there have been some indications that dietary changes could reverse multiple sclerosis, or MS, in some individuals. Depression, anxiety, and post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. Many experts describe the gut as the second brain, as we've shared, as it produces more neurotransmitters than the actual brain. So, improving beneficial bacteria in the gut may be the answer we've been looking for to address rampant mental health problems such as depression, anxiety, and PTSD. Remember, you have neurons both in your brain and in your gut, including neurons that produce neurotransmitters like serotonin. In fact, the greatest concentration of serotonin, which is involved in mood control, depression, and aggression, is found in your intestines, not in your brain. This may well be one reason antidepressants, which raise serotonin levels in your brain, are often ineffective in treating depression, whereas proper dietary changes often do help significantly, even in cases of severe anxiety, PTSD, or major depressive disorder, as well as various other extreme mental and emotional states. Remember, the body wants to heal. It is trying to find a healthy balance. It just needs protection from bad things and provision of good things. A new arm of psychological science called psychobiotics promotes the medicinal use of probiotics that are known to affect neurotransmitters such as serotonin and dopamine, natural chemicals that help produce a sense of happiness and well-being. Even severe and chronic mental health problems like post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, might be eliminated or at least decreased through the use of certain beneficial bacteria. One reason may be that many psychiatric illnesses have an association with low-level chronic inflammation in the body, and beneficial flora, studies have found, can modulate inflammation and restore healthy immunological function. So by enhancing healthy gut flora, we can lower the inflammation throughout the body that is a contributing factor in many psychiatric challenges. Skin issues. Signals from your gut flora are sent throughout your body and interact with organisms in your skin and gut. Researchers are now looking into how these interactions can help with skin conditions like dryness, improve collagen, stabilize skin microflora to help with irritations. At first, it may seem strange that bacteria in your gut would play a role in skin health, but when you consider that your skin is literally bathed in bacteria, it's not much of a stretch after all. Even after you wash, there are still 1 million bacteria living on every square centimeter of your skin. They are involved in a symbiotic relationship with you, mutually beneficial. The bacteria in the crook of your inner elbow, for instance, process raw fats produced by your skin and in turn help moisturize the area. Beneficial bacteria play an important role in skin health. Beneficial bacteria supplementation, we know, can help treat and prevent eczema. Eczema, also known as atopic dermatitis, is more than just a skin problem. It signals a problem with the immune system. In fact, eczema is said to be one of the first warning signs in children that the gut needs help. If ignored or only treated to mask the symptoms of eczema, allergies, asthma, or hay fever may follow. If an infant or child struggles with eczema, providing them with a healthier diet along with beneficial bacteria is very important. If the child isn't eating solid foods yet, transfer a probiotic powder from the parent's clean finger to the baby's mouth. Feed an older child probiotic foods such as healthy raw yogurts, kefir, sauerkraut. Probiotics can also be helpful for any infant born via C-section, as it would help the immune system to develop and mature, since they may be lacking necessary bacteria normally received by passing through the birth canal. Other useful ways to address eczema are to expose the eczema to sunlight, eliminate gluten, grains, processed sugars from the person's diet, and make sure the consumption of omega-3 fats and vitamin D3 levels are optimal. Cancer. Several types of cancer are linked to particular microbes. For example, the human papillomavirus, HPV, is a contributing factor in cervical cancer. But overall, the relationship between gut flora and cancer is far more complex. Although we don't yet fully understand the mechanism, scientists are proving the link exists. A 2013 study by researchers at New York University School of Medicine, for example, found that patients with colorectal cancer had a less diverse population of gut bacteria than healthy people. The simplest explanation may be that an imbalance in the bacterial population of the gut, too many bad bacteria, not enough of the friendly strains, creates prime conditions for the disease to form and thrive. How to nourish your gut and get your microbiome back in balance. Consistently reseeding your gut with healthy bacteria may be crucial for help in the prevention of virtually all disease, as well as from common colds and coughs, flus, autoimmune disorders, psychiatric disturbances, and even cancer, as we've shared. The good news is that improving the health of your digestive system is a simple, straightforward process of achieving the right balance of good and bad gut bacteria. It's a matter of moving the right bacteria into the right amounts, into permanent residence in your digestive tract. And doing that is very nearly effortless by avoiding sugars, grains, chlorinated water, processed foods, and you eat more fermented foods. In addition to boosting your immune system, fermented foods can also help to regulate emotions and quality of sleep, mental clarity, memory, recall, with minimal investment and energy on our part. Simply eating more fermented foods is the best way to optimize your digestive health. Be sure to eat the traditionally made unpasteurized or raw versions and organic. Healthy choices include fermented shredded vegetables, fermented unpasteurized dairy like yogurt and kefir. Ideally, you would make your own yogurt or kefir for yourself from raw dairy, raw milk, as most commercial versions are loaded with sugars and artificial flavors and sweeteners and are often low in beneficial bacteria. In most traditional cuisines, people eat some form of fermented food almost every day, as this was how they preserved food before refrigeration was available. For best results, you'll want to eat a bit of fermented food each day too. At a minimum, aim to consume it at least 3 times a week. Fermented vegetables are an excellent source of beneficial bacteria and even increased vitamin C. You could eat fermented veggies as a side dish or add them to a salad. They are a great substitute for vinegar, as the lactic acid in the veggies is really similar to acetic acid in vinegar, which also has a great deal of health benefits. Just start out with about a teaspoonful for a few days and work your way up slowly to a few tablespoons a day to give your body time to adjust to the beneficial microbes. Spending a portion of a weekend afternoon shredding vegetables and packing them into jars, then eating a tablespoon or so of them a few times a week means you'll have a source of healthy probiotics that lasts months, costs only a few dollars, and could be shared with friends and family. Most high-quality probiotic supplements or pills will supply you with only a fraction of the beneficial bacteria found in such homemade fermented vegetable dishes. So making and eating your own is your most economical route to optimal gut health as well. When choosing fermented foods, steer clear of pasteurized, cooked versions, as the high temperatures will destroy many of the naturally occurring probiotics. This includes most of the quote-unquote probiotic yogurts you find in nearly every grocery store these days. Since they're pasteurized, they will be associated with all the problems of pasteurized milk and dairy products. Heating milk, as in pasteurization, destroys a large percentage of the friendly bacteria and reduces the levels of vitamin C and vitamin B6. And by law, most dairy products do have to be pasteurized in order to be sold in grocery stores, sadly. So finding raw dairy, apart from aged cheeses, which can also be very healthy and are sold in most grocery stores, can be relatively challenging unless you have a farm nearby where you can purchase healthy organic raw dairy, preferably from grass-fed cows, to ferment into your own kefir or yogurt. You can look up some good recipes online. Moreover, store-bought pasteurized dairy products often typically contain all sorts of sugars and high fructose corn syrups and artificial coloring and sweeteners, all of which only worsen our health. If you absolutely cannot bear the thought or the taste of consuming fermented foods, then we do strongly recommend that you research and find a good quality probiotic supplement. We emphasize the research to make sure you're buying from a trustworthy company, because as you probably know, there are many less than healthy supplements being sold out there. Another bit of counsel to ensure that you're getting all the benefits from your food is to make sure that you are chewing in a way that supports your health. Generally speaking, you'll want to eat in a relaxed, non-distracted environment. Eating on the run or while you're working or multitasking is not conducive to proper chewing and healthy digestion. It would be better in most cases to simply fast and wait until you have the time to calm down, slow down, and enjoy your food, chewing thoroughly and digesting in peace, than to be eating constantly on the run throughout the day, stressed and not chewing sufficiently. It can also be helpful to take smaller bites of food since they're easier to chew. Chew slowly and steadily, mindfully. Chew until your mouthful of food is liquefied or has lost all its texture. Finish chewing and swallow completely before you take another bite of food. And limit drinking fluids to at least a half hour before and a half hour after eating food, as drinking fluids dilutes your stomach digestive acids. The chewing process pre-digests your food into small pieces and partially liquefies it, making it easier to digest. Digestion is actually a very demanding task for your body, requiring a great deal of energy, especially if it is forced to digest improperly chewed food. Chewing properly makes it easier for your gut bacteria to break down your food and receive the benefits of it. Tending to the bacteria in your gut is an ongoing process, much like tending to a flower garden or a vegetable garden. One reason is that lifestyle factors such as stress, a course of antibiotics, or a binge of highly processed foods or sugars or grains, as well as environmental factors we discussed in earlier video in the series, including chlorinated tap water, which kills gut microbes, can wipe out portions of your bacterial population. Also, the bacteria you consume through fermented foods and probiotic supplements tend to be only visitors in your system. They live only about 2 weeks. When it comes to gut flora, you can't set it and forget it. But if you provide your gut flora with the proper nourishment, fermented foods or a high quality probiotic supplement, if you don't eat regularly from the group of fermented foods, and avoid antibiotics, ultra-processed foods, and other environmental assaults, your gut bacteria will flourish and reward you exponentially in the form of good health, mental clarity, emotional stability. So, in summary, a good action plan would include incorporating fermented foods into your daily diet, such as organic raw yogurt, kefir made with raw milk, or natto, fermented vegetables, kraut or kimchi. Ferment your own vegetables once you experience how easy the process actually is and how empowering it is to have an arsenal of probiotics that are delicious and inexpensive at the ready at all times. It will become an exhilarating piece of your good health plan, empowering. And since you can create large amounts, enough to last for months in one shot, it is a great low-cost investment and can be shared with others. If you don't choose to eat fermented foods at least a few times a week, you can seek out a high-quality probiotic supplement to take daily. Avoid factors that harm your beneficial bacteria levels, including processed foods, sugars, antibacterial soap or hand sanitizer, chlorinated water, etc. Another significant component to living healthy and enjoying vitality into our later years is sleep hygiene. You can eat well and exercise regularly, but if you don't sleep well, your health will suffer. Sleep is an integral part of all health, particularly brain health. The hormone melatonin is a great sleep regulator, found especially in organic pistachio nuts and even in the brown feathery skin portions of the nut, which are important to eat as well. Monitoring your exposure to light normalizes your melatonin production, and recognizing that most sleeping pills and medications offer too many downsides and too few benefits. Sleep is one of the great mysteries of life, like black holes and antimatter and origins of the universe. Despite mountains of sleep research, we still don't understand exactly why the body requires sleep, though we are learning more every day. One of the most exciting functions of sleep that we are just beginning to understand is the role it plays in brain health and in healing the brain. Essentially, sleep appears to be the prime time for the brain to clear out waste products and repair itself. This new insight into sleep's role has important implications for brain health, particularly at a time when, in the United States alone, someone develops Alzheimer's every 67 seconds, a rate that will only increase unless we make serious changes to our lifestyles and diets. Why you are likely not sleeping enough. It's really easy to get less sleep than you need in modern world. It's practically a badge of honor in our 24/7 society. Busyness and exhaustion for the sake of productivity, or so we call it. But it is a critical mistake. As it has been often said, many people have spent their health gaining wealth, and then in their later years spend their wealth trying to get back their health. May that not be us. Everybody loses sleep here and there, or many of us, and the body can adjust for temporary shortcomings. Life's challenges tend to disrupt sleep from time to time. Cultivating good sleep habits is important to help you recover from those times when you've missed sleep. Like giving yourself time to wind down before bed, going to bed at the same time whenever possible, and going to bed early enough. Avoiding light and electronic screens and extra stimulation mentally and emotionally before sleep is also important. If you have established healthy sleeping habits, it will be far easier to get back to a routine that will keep you healthy. But even if you've read and incorporated the standard advice on good sleep habits, certain factors can work against your ability to fall and stay asleep at a quality depth for the recommended 7 to 8 hours per night. Stress, obviously, is a major influence on how well you are able to rest lying in bed. Thinking anxious thoughts is a prescription for staying awake, as many of us have experienced. Another crucial piece of the sleep puzzle is light. Spending hours each night watching television or computer screens, cell phone screens, catching up on emails, or scrolling through social media, playing video games, or viewing a movie on a device are all pervasive habits that can wreak havoc in the body's internal clock, known as the circadian rhythm. This internal clock rules the sleep-wake cycle, and when it gets out of whack, restorative, deep sleep becomes elusive. Why should you care about how much and how well you sleep? Because not getting enough quality sleep can cause major health and performance and cognitive issues. Poor memory and concentration. You've likely experienced this one. After a poor night's sleep, you can't recall details, or you leave the house without your keys. It's no mere coincidence significant memory impairment can occur after just a single night of poor sleep. It impairs your ability to think clearly the next day and decreases your problem-solving ability. Heightened stress levels. Poor sleep can raise your levels of corticosterone, the stress hormone associated with road rage. When your body is stressed, adrenaline increases your heart rate and blood pressure, makes your muscles tense, and slows your digestive processes. Chronic high stress can lead to a variety of health problems, including headaches, indigestion, increased anxiety, depression, high blood pressure, weight gain, and prediabetes. Poor sleep can increase your risk of gaining body fat, impair your ability to lose excess pounds, and make it harder for you to maintain your ideal weight. When you're sleep deprived, leptin, a hormone that signals satiety, falls, while ghrelin, Grelin, which signals hunger, rises, making you feel hungrier the next day and likely to consume excess unnecessary calories to make up for the lack of sleep and restoration. Weakened immune system. Poor sleep increases your chances of getting sick. In 1988, one of the first studies to establish a link between sleep and the immune response found that people who awakened more often during the first cycle of sleep tended to have lower levels of natural killer cells to keep them healthy. More recent research points to a link between the circadian clock, the natural rhythms of wakefulness and sleepiness, and the activity of certain genes that help detect and ward off bacteria and viruses. Accelerated aging. Poor sleep likely contributes to premature aging. It can interfere with growth hormone production, which helps you look and feel younger. Normally, your pituitary gland releases HGH, human growth hormone, during deep sleep, and in response to high intensity exercise as well, as we've shared in an earlier video in the series. If you don't sleep deeply, your levels of this hormone plummet. Advanced tumor growth. Poor sleep increases your likelihood of getting cancer. This may be because melatonin, the hormone released by the pineal gland that helps regulate sleep, appears to have anti-cancer properties. Melatonin is thought to play a role in inhibiting the proliferation of a wide range of cancer types and triggering cancer cell apoptosis, self-destruction. But many habits of modern life, such as sleeping in a room with lights or next to high EMF devices like computers, cell phones, and clock radios, not getting enough bright sunlight exposure in the daytime, and various other habits suppress normal melatonin rhythms. Increased risk of heart disease and dying from any cause. Your circadian system drives the rhythms of biological activity in all the tissues and cells of your body. Poor sleep disrupts the master clock, which then disrupts the normal functioning of those tissues and cells. That's probably why disrupted circadian rhythms are implicated in everything from sleep impairment to weight gain, mood disorders, cardiovascular disease, and many other health issues. Researchers have found that people with chronic insomnia have a 3 times greater risk of dying than those who don't. Clean your brain. The link between sleep and brain health. Recent research has illuminated a key function of sleep to clean the cells of your brain. The rest of your body is cleansed and detoxified by your lymphatic system, a series of ducts and glands that removes waste products and delivers nutrients to cells throughout your body. However, your lymphatic system does not have a direct access to your brain. Your brain is a closed system protected by the blood-brain barrier, which controls what can enter it and what cannot. Your brain actually has its own unique waste disposal system called the glymphatic system. It piggybacks on the blood vessels in your brain. The G in glymphatic is a nod to glial cells, the brain cells that manage this system. By pumping cerebrospinal fluid through your brain's tissues, the glymphatic system flushes the waste from your brain back into your body's circulatory system. From there, the waste eventually reaches your liver, where it is processed for elimination. During sleep, the glymphatic system becomes 10 times more active than during wakefulness. What is it doing? It appears to be taking out the trash. In 2013, a study on mice showed that during sleep, the brain cells are reduced in size by about 60%. This creates more space in between the cells, giving the cerebrospinal fluid more room to flush out the debris. One particular waste product that this study identified is removed in significantly greater quantities during sleep. That's amyloid beta, the protein that forms the notorious plaques found in the brains of Alzheimer's patients. This important function of sleep is still being fully studied in humans. We hope these new insights on the role of sleep in brain health will persuade us to experiment with more ways to get quality, deep sleep in at least 7 to 8 hours a night. How much sleep is enough? Chronic lack of sleep has a cumulative effect when it comes to disrupting our health, so you can't skimp on weekdays thinking you'll catch up over the weekend. That's not going to be soon enough to make up for the sleep debt. You need consistency. Generally speaking, most adults need between 6 and 8 hours of sleep every night. But according to the National Sleep Foundation, most American adults are just barely meeting the minimum at 6 hours. And often falling below that. Even worse, it's hard for people to fully perceive all the impairments that chronic insufficient sleep causes in their waking lives. You can acclimate to the feeling of getting less sleep as a new normal, but this doesn't mean that you're performing at or even near your best, even if it becomes a habit. So be sure that you get to bed early enough so that you can get the sleep you need, which will typically be in the range of 6 to 8 hours every night. Frequent yawning throughout the day is a dead giveaway that you need more shut-eye. If you tend to drift off whenever you sit or lie still or try to read, you need more sleep. If you have problems falling asleep, reading can be a powerful strategy to help you get sleep at night. This is a strategy we regularly use. Or even turning off your screen but listening to some of our videos. Optimize your circadian rhythm. The circadian rhythm, as we've said, is the 24-hour body cycle determined by the master clock in the brain, a group of cells known as the suprachiasmatic nucleus that's located in the hypothalamus. Every cell and tissue of your body has its own 24-hour rhythm, which is set by your internal master clock. The master clock synchronizes its 24-hour pattern by the light-dark cycle of the sun. Your body evolved over time to sync to natural day and night and the cycles thereof. Our ancient ancestors slept at night in darkness and stayed awake in the exposure of bright daylight. But today, many of us stay up late at night and use bright artificial light sources that fools our master clocks into thinking it's day when it's actually night. And therefore, it doesn't cue the sleepiness that guides you to get into bed at the right time. You may be thinking, we've had electric lighting for over a century. Surely our biology has adapted to that change. The reality is that such genetic adaptations usually require hundreds, if not thousands, of generations to adapt, if they ever do at all. Maintaining proper light exposure is key to ensuring that you get the sleep you require. In this way, you'll work with your body's natural rhythms, not against them, and fall and stay asleep in a sufficient quality of depth and quantity of time. Melatonin, as we've mentioned, is a hormone secreted by the pineal gland. It is both tied to and helps set the body's circadian rhythm. It is released when the brain perceives dim light, and it contributes to the initiation and maintenance of sleep. In a natural environment free of artificial light from light bulbs, and especially blue light from electronic devices like TVs and smartphones, melatonin levels begin to rise around 7 p.m., depending on the seasons, and then stay elevated until about 7 a.m. But when you have less exposure to darkness, your body produces less melatonin, thus exposing yourself to bright light late at night, and interestingly, exposing yourself to insufficient bright light during the daytime disrupts melatonin production. Just switching a bedside lamp on and off in an otherwise pitch black room produces a drop in melatonin levels. Managing your daily exposure to light is thus a crucial piece of the sleep equation. It helps maintain proper melatonin levels. Getting appropriate, healthy sunlight during the day and avoiding light at night. Even small amounts of light, as from a bedside clock. Before the advent of electricity, the only light available at night was moonlight, firelight, candlelight, starlight. All of those forms of light emit short wavelengths, which the human eye perceives as mostly yellows, oranges, and reds. Fast forwarding to now, when we not only burn lights all night, but are watching TVs and computers and all manner of electronic devices and gadgets. The problem is that nearly all these kinds of light emit longer wavelengths in the blue light spectrum. Your body responds to wavelengths in different ways. Studies have shown that exposure to blue light at night delays the nightly peak of melatonin that triggers sleepiness, and it reduces the amount of melatonin released when the peak does come. Conversely, exposure to red light at night has a negligible impact on melatonin. So if you need to use a light at night to find the bathroom, it's best to use a red light or a light with a red or yellow or orange covering. And if you absolutely must use electronic devices at night, it's important to use blue light blocking glasses, or at least change the nightlight setting on your screen to have a more yellow or reddish tone. If you want to protect your melatonin cycle and maintain a consistent circadian rhythm, you should modify your environment to be more mindful of the types of light you are exposed to throughout the day and at night. Expose yourself to bright sunlight during the day, which contains the longer blue wavelengths and thus suppresses melatonin and alertness. during the day and limit your nighttime lights to sources that emit the yellow, orange, or red portion of the light spectrum. Here are a few powerful yet easy ways to regulate your light exposure and thus improve your circadian rhythm. Establish these good habits so you can stop wrestling with sleep and enjoy it instead, and the benefits it provides. Amp up your exposure to daytime light. Fling open the curtains when you wake up and fill your workspace with bright light. Go outside and enjoy the sunshine, even in the wintertime. When the sun is too low in the sky to provide vitamin D, the rays will still help you set your internal clock. During winter, when light is fleeting, or when it's cloudy for days at a time, consider using blue lights intended for the treatment of seasonal affective disorder, SAD, SAD, or rather full spectrum lights that have the full spectrum of the wavelength during the day to signal to your master internal clock that it is daytime, time to be awake. Use electronics mindfully, if at all, at night. The glow of television, smartphones, laptops, and handheld devices can all upset your circadian rhythm and promote wakefulness when you need to be settling down for sleep. Turn them all off at least an hour before bedtime. Filter blue light in the evening and night. Aim to expose yourself to the yellow, orange, red, amber end of the light spectrum in the evening if you must have light. Choose a clock with a similar color tone, reddish instead of bluish. Choose a night light with a low light bulb and preferably a reddish hue. There are apps that filter the blue light emission from the screens on electronic devices and settings that you can check to turn the screen to a more reddish hue. You can further minimize your exposure to blue light at night by wearing special blue light blocking glasses we mentioned, amber colored or orange tinted. They filter out the blue light frequencies. Ideally, you'd wear them for a few hours before going to bed if you had to be looking at screens. Make nighttime dark. Use blackout curtains to shut out ambient light from outside. Turn digital alarm clocks away from you so the glow doesn't keep you up. Consider using a sleep mask to cover your eyes. Create a sleep sanctuary. Remove distractions from your bedroom, computers, TVs, etc. Make sure that if you do have devices that they're a good 5 to 6 feet away from your body, especially your head. Don't keep your cell phone on your nightstand right next to your head because of the radiation, as well as the temptation to check it and unhealthfully blast your eyes with blue light. Make this important room a place of rest, away from stress and distractions, and spend time with your partner. And your body will start to unwind as soon as you enter it. A kind of signal that you set up. This is not a work space or a stress space. This is a calm down and sleep space. It can even be helpful to avoid doing work and accomplishing work-oriented tasks when you are in your bedroom. Keep your work centered in another part of your house or office so that your mind can know that when it enters into the bedroom, it's time to settle down for sleep. Keep it cool. Many people keep their homes, and particularly their upstairs bedrooms, too warm. Studies show that the optimal room temperature for sleep is quite cool, between 60 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Keeping your room cooler or hotter can lead to restless sleep. Stay consistent. Find yourself an easy going to bed routine and stick to it with as much as possible. Turn off the TV, turn down the heat a little, do a few minutes of stretching, Brush your teeth, read under a gentle reddish toned light. Doesn't need to be complicated, it just needs to be consistent, meaning it starts at basically the same time each night and goes about the same way every night. Those of you who are parents may notice that a lot of the advice we've just listed is very similar to the advice given to new mothers and fathers to help teach their infants to sleep through the night. You and your good health deserve every bit of the attention and care you would give to a baby. As we learn to parent ourselves well as well. Once good habits are established, they become second nature and are easy to maintain going forward. Promoting your circadian rhythms by monitoring your exposure to light is not the only tool at your disposal. Many nutrients also play a role in healthy sleep. And eating these nutrients in food rather than getting them through supplements is the most holistic way to make sure your body has the building blocks to regulate sleep. Aim to eat the following foods several times a week. Avocados, in addition to being rich in high quality fats, avocados are an excellent source of potassium, which works synergistically with magnesium to improve sleep, among other things. It's generally recommended that you take in 5 times more potassium than sodium to optimize your sodium to potassium ratio. But many Americans' diets sadly have been so rich in sodium, especially low quality basic white table salt sodium, and processed foods with high sodium, that they consume twice as much sodium as potassium. Eating more avocados is an excellent way to bring that ratio back toward healthy levels. Foregoing salty processed foods is another. And the extra potassium will help your body get the sleep it needs. Many greens also have generous portions of potassium. Chamomile tea before bed can also have a calming effect. Researchers have found that it's associated with a rise in glycine, a chemical that has sedative properties that promotes muscle relaxation. Can drink a cup of organic chamomile tea an hour before bedtime and notice the effect it has on your body. Foods rich in magnesium are also helpful in calming down, relaxing the body. Organic cherries can be helpful for sleep hygiene as well. Just a handful, no more, an hour before bedtime, unless you're incorporating intermittent fasting, in which case then you can take them 3 hours before bedtime to keep your calorie intake window down to about 8 hours a day. Green leafy vegetables, greens such as kale, Swiss chard, and chicory family are loaded with minerals that promote sleep. They are rich in calcium, which helps your brain use tryptophan to manufacture melatonin. And they are an excellent source of magnesium as well. These sleep-enhancing nutrients are yet another reason we are such a big advocate of getting healthy organic greens into your diet. Walnuts also benefit sleep in 2 ways. They're a good source of tryptophan, an amino acid that helps your body to make melatonin, and they contain their own melatonin, according to researchers at the University of Texas. as well as organic pistachio nuts, as we were sharing earlier. Remember that your body knows how to sleep. If you are experiencing insomnia or simply not getting enough rest, trust that the simple lifestyle and nutritional advice that we've discussed in this video will help normalize your circadian rhythms. And when that happens, your body will support you in effortlessly getting the rest you need. At certain times, however, you may need a little extra help. You may be traveling between time zones, for example, or going through a stressful period in your life. During those times, the only supplement we advocate taking is melatonin. Numerous scientific studies have shown that melatonin supplements help people fall asleep faster and stay asleep longer, experience less restlessness, and prevent daytime fatigue. Only a very small dose is required, typically 0.25 milligrams or 0.5 milligrams, to influence timing of circadian rhythms. But those who struggle to get to sleep usually take higher doses, such as 3 milligrams at bedtime. Taking a dose of 3 milligrams can sometimes make you groggy the next day. So to help with sleep initiation, start with 1 milligram near bedtime. If that amount doesn't get you to sleep, adjust your dose by no more than 1 milligram per night until you reach 3 milligrams. Why sleeping pills aren't a good option. Sleeping medications may have a legitimate role when a person is experiencing severe crippling anxiety or when panic is impairing sleep, but patients and doctors alike turn to them too quickly and too frequently. While it may be tempting to look for a pill to help you sleep, prescription pills help people ignore the primary issue that's impairing their sleep. In fact, using them helps a person ignore the cause of his or her sleep problems. Heartburn, diabetes, heart disease, arthritis, kidney disease, thyroid disease, and asthma can all hinder sleep. Taking a pill to quote-unquote treat the sleeplessness without addressing the reason you are awake may be analogous to turning a blind eye on a burning house. Ignoring the house doesn't make it stop burning, and waiting to address the problem only sets the stage for that condition to worsen over time. Beyond that, prescription sleeping pills don't increase sleep time by much. Researchers have repeatedly shown that they extend sleep only an average of 15 or 20 minutes. Interestingly, other studies have shown that some of these medications can induce amnesia. So upon waking, participants could not recall how they slept or didn't sleep. Some sleep medications, including over-the-counter drugs containing Benadryl, have a long half-life, which means that they can still be stimulating sleepiness after you wake up the next morning. Not surprisingly, they're associated with cognitive deficits during the daytime, which can be especially dangerous when driving or operating heavy machinery. Chronic use of sleeping pills has been linked to significant health hazards, including increased risk of cancer and death, although it is unknown if these medications are actually causing these health hazards. How life feels when you're well rested. Imagine being able to recall words and names and details. Imagine not having to spend time every morning looking for your keys and phone. When you are rested, your immune system works better, so the tickle in your throat that you occasionally feel won't develop into a full-blown cold, and you won't lose days to congestion, coughs, and general discomfort. When your body can support you properly, it will make so many areas of the rest of your life feel easy and effortless in comparison to how they feel when you're dragging yourself around after not sleeping enough. A basic action plan for improving sleep hygiene and quality of sleep includes exposing yourself to bright sunlight during the day, full spectrum light bulbs, using red toned lights for night lights and bedtime reading lamps, or digital clocks, and even the reddish toned night light settings on your electronic devices if you must use them at night, or blue light blocking yellow or reddish toned glasses. Eliminate sources of nighttime light in your bedroom as much as possible. Eliminate sounds and noise in your bedroom as much as possible. Establish a simple wind down routine to prepare yourself for bed at each night. Keep your bedroom between 60 to 68 degrees at night. Prioritize eating foods that promote sleep, including organic greens and avocados, walnuts, cherries, chamomile tea, pistachio nuts.